You might be wondering, why do I feel so much guilt and shame? Well, let's talk about it in this video. In this video, I'm diving into what guilt and shame actually are. Then I'll cover why you feel them so often. And finally, I'll tell you how to stop feeling all that guilt and shame. Guilt and shame can really do a number on you, can't they? A lot of people struggle with them for a lot of different reasons. You might be a mom who feels guilty at just the thought of taking a little time for yourself. You might have a weight problem and be ashamed of yourself, how you look, or how many times you've gained the weight. There are a lot of reasons why you may feel guilt and shame, but here are just a few. It could be that you did something you're not proud of or just didn't want to do. It could be that you think you let yourself down in some way. It could be that you aren't being true to yourself, and part of you knows it. Guilt and shame are really common reactions when you really care about doing something right and feel like you failed at it. Other people can also be involved in guilt and shame. Maybe you hurt someone else, even accidentally. Maybe someone made fun of you or said something to hurt your feelings. Maybe you didn't do what someone else wanted you to do and they got mad at you and acted disappointed. It could be that someone did something horrible to you and you think that's because you must have deserved it. And sometimes other people use guilt and shame on you to try to get what they want, or because they're just really unhappy and they don't know how else to handle their own misery. Before I go to my next point, I want to hear from you. I always love to hear from you. I read all of your comments and I always respond. What are you dealing with when it comes to guilt and shame? What's going on in your life? Can you relate so far to what I'm saying? Comment below and tell me, what is your experience with guilt and shame? Whatever the exact cause of your guilt and shame, here's what you can do to understand why you're feeling it. First, write down the last time you felt guilty or ashamed. What happened right before you felt that way? What happened during? What happened after? See, writing down exactly what happened gets the information out of your head and right there in front of you. There's something so powerful about writing things down. In this day and age of 2021, when I'm standing here recording this with you, people just don't write things down. I've noticed that, people don't journal, they don't do a diary, they don't even write a to-do list. You know, what do is they put it on their phone. They put things on their phone. And there's nothing wrong with that. I put everything on my phone. I live according to my phone constantly. And I have the notes section. I'm always emailing myself, and I get all that. But there's something very powerful that happens, some neural pathways that are built when you actually put pen to paper. I call it a brain dump. I do this all the time. I'm always doing a brain dump, pen to paper. I keep a pen and paper near me all the time. I keep it on my nightstand. I keep it on my desk. I've got it in my bag. When I traveled here, I always have a pen and paper handy, and I like to write things down. It really does help you process things so much better when you write it down. I want to encourage you to really use that actual process of writing things down to help you with this whole process. Now that you can see what triggered the guilt and shame, I want you to start asking why. Like a curious little kid kind of why. Why do I feel guilty or ashamed when this happened? When you answer that question, ask why again and again and again. Keep asking why. It's important to go deep because that's how you get to the real issue, the real reason, and shine a light on it. What you find is probably going to shock you. It probably won't be what you expect. And you know what? That's okay. That's the point. February of 2021, I went to a spa down in Tucson. It's a spa that I like to go to on a regular basis and really rejuvenate and recharge. It's my special place that I love. This particular spa has a lot of different experiences for you that are a lot more spiritual than I like to go. Really deep dives into astrology and astronomy, and I'm not really into that stuff. But I did meet with a woman who analyzes handwriting. And I thought that was interesting. And it wasn't over the top woo-woo. And I felt in my heart that it was fine to go see her. And oh my gosh, what happened was astonishing. She had me, and I'm not going to go through the whole, it's just so intricate when she analyzed my handwriting, but what she did was she had me write out some things about myself on a piece of paper, and then she analyzed it. And what she was able to tell me about myself was spot on. And it wasn't like a fortune telling kind of a situation or some kind of tarot card reading. I'm not into that at all. It was just facts about my handwriting that when she said it to me, that matched up perfectly with what I was saying. And so she asked me to write down with my right hand, which is my dominant hand, something that's really bothering me. And then she asked me to answer my own self with my left hand. She asked me to write down the answer to what I thought would be the solution to that problem I was going through with my left hand. And of course, you can imagine when you don't ever write with your left hand, if you're right-handed, you don't ever write with your left hand. It came out like a little kid, and it was kind of like that. It took me, I had to concentrate, I had to really think about it. But what I found was the fact that I had to concentrate so hard on writing with my non-dominant hand, it opened up something different in my brain. And I don't know the ins and outs of this. I'm not an expert. I'm just telling you that when I did that, and when I really went deep with what truly was bothering me and what down deep was going on and why I felt so bad and why I was dealing with the guilt and the shame and things that were going on in my life, when I wrote it down with my right hand and answered myself with my left hand, I don't know, something crazy happened, and it unlocked this thing inside of me, and it helped me to kind of deal with and find an answer to what was going on with me. And I don't have all the answers, and I still don't have all the answers, but it really helped me. It was a technique I'd never even in a million years dreamed of. And I don't know the science and the backing for it, but it was something that I experienced that was pretty shocking. And so when I say to you that you're probably going to be shocked at what you write down, I was completely shocked at what I wrote down, and I was completely shocked at what my left hand wrote down. So the whole thing was pretty shocking. And if you really get down deep with yourself, if you realize, hey, no one's ever going to read this, and I'm just going to be real and raw and honest with myself, and you can throw it away when you're done, even if you, that whole thing of really getting raw, really getting honest, really getting granular with the guilt and the shame of what you're feeling, and not worrying about if someone's going to see it or what someone would think, that's healing. That is really releasing. I encourage you to try this out. Now that you see what's going on with the guilt and shame that you're feeling, here's how to start making it stop. First, examine the beliefs you have and ask yourself, are they facts or are they just stories? For example, let's say you've realized that you feel guilty for wanting a little time for yourself instead of doing everything everyone else wants. And let's say the deep raw why is because your parents told you that you had to give in to others and that it was selfish and it made you a bad person to ever put yourself first. Is it a provable fact that putting yourself first sometimes makes you a bad person? Or is it just a story you tell yourself based on what your parents drilled into you about what they believe? We become the stories we tell ourselves. So if you're feeling a lot of guilt and shame, it's because you're telling yourself the stories that make you feel those things. Change your stories, and you will, with practice, change how you feel. Another way to stop the guilt and shame comes down to one word: forgiveness. Listen, you're not perfect. I mean, nobody is. I'm not perfect, certainly. I mess up and I say the wrong things all the time. I mean, we all do. Beating yourself up with guilt and shame changes nothing. All it does is make you feel like crap all the time. And I'm not telling you to shut off your emotions or your ability to feel compassion. What I'm saying is forgiving yourself for being a human being, doing the best they can with where they are, goes a long way. Finally, you can also stop the guilt and shame by doing something good for you, something that you can be proud of. That's what I help my clients do in my nutrition program, the Code Red Lifestyle. People come to me because they're ashamed that they've let themselves go, or they're ashamed that they've gained back the weight. When I teach them how to lose the weight and feel better with real food, water, and sleep, they feel so good physically. But also they feel good about themselves. It's about so much more than weight loss. It's about taking your life back, including from all that guilt and shame. If you'd like to take your life back, get started with joining the Code Red lifestyle, the private network, which you can get in the App Store, Google Play Store, or at coderedlifestyle.com/app. You'll get food ideas, support, programs, and tons more. Remember, you do deserve to feel better. Show yourself some grace, just like you would for a loved one. You may feel guilt or shame, and here are just a few. Let me do that over. And they got mad at you or acted disappointed. Let me do that again. Writing things down and that will help you. Let me see here. Spiritual experiences, and I don't deep dive into that kind of stuff. Hold on, I just spit.